And we're a go. So, welcome everybody to this special edition of the Risorto Report. Start of camp and signings for the Islanders, or lack thereof. So, in about 1 week or so, Islanders start the season. And you want to know what else? Hockey season officially starts. But, we got to go through a week of camp or so. And so far, myself, along with some other Isles fans, how do you say it? Oh, I don't know. Are a little upset. Do you want to know why? I am upset at some things. But there is one key thing that I'm upset about today. And it's not the fact that there's no hockey on right now. It's not the fact that the Giants, my team, my boys, got eliminated thanks to the hapless Eagles. No, that's not it. Although I'm not going to rant about that. Although that is rantable, but not as rantable or deserving of a rant as this. We all know that Matt Martin, Corey Schneider, Andy Green, Tom Kuhnackel, of all people, were signed per se. We all knew they were coming back. They came back on verbal agreements. But in this instance, there is one signing out there that is supposedly in the books, but just not official yet. And that is Arthur Staple announcing that the Islanders have signed Matt Martin to the money was fine, $1.5 million, not bad at all. But 4 years, you're given 4 years to a 32-year-old forward? Hell, by the time he's out of it, he'll be 36. But then I remember, Lou is in love with his veterans. He signs Valtteri Filppula, which was fine. I like the Filppula signing. But then he signs Leo Komarov to a 4-year deal worth $12 million, $3 million per, with a no trade clause. Oh, yeah, brilliant signing right there, boss, right? Then he signs Varlamov to a 4-year deal. But I will say this. The Varlamov signing was all about Ilya Sorokin. And Sorokin is here, so I'm willing to waive the Varlamov signing. I'm willing to get rid of that. I'm willing to give Lou a pass on that. All right? What I am not okay with is this infatuation with these old veterans. I don't get it. The team has a problem on the power play. The team has a problem with goal scoring. And for God's sake, they lost 7 games in a row before COVID came in and saved the season. Yes, I said it. COVID saved the Islanders. You don't believe me? The way they were going prior to the suspension, they were going to miss the playoffs. You don't believe me? Look at how they were doing. Look how the Rangers were doing. Look how every other team was doing. I get it. Lou Lamoriello is this gem. He's this diamond. A Hall of Fame GM, yes. But, good Lord. Everyone took for, not granted, but were all in Lou we trust mindset since day one. And listen, he got us Barry Trotz, which was good. He re-signed Anders Lee. He re-signed Jordan Eberle. He re-signed Brock Nelson, and he re-signed Ryan Pollock. But he signed Robin Leonard. Let him go. He got his 5 years in Vegas. Well-deserved. He brings in Varlamov. At the time, it was, very, very questionable. However, he then decides to re-sign Ross Johnston to a 4-year deal. All right. This is assuming that Martin isn't coming back long term. We'll get to that in a moment. He then signs Valtteri Filppula, a good third-line center to have. I personally wanted him back the second year, but I knew he was going to go somewhere else, and I wasn't surprised. I really wasn't. Then he re-signs Thomas Hickey. Well, not a big fan, but you know what? For a Bridgeport defenseman, fine. Bridgeport we'll get into later as well. And then he decides, Lou Lamoriello decides, you know what would be a good idea? Let's sign a guy who can, I don't know, be a liability on the ice, who can't even skate properly, in Leo Komarov. 4 years, $12 million. Oh, that was a fun one. The dude still has trouble possessing the puck. He can shoot it down. He's practically good for just a penalty kill. And I'll tell you this, if penalty killing was its own separate entity, where, put it like this, you have your forwards, you have your defensemen, and then you sign some power play guys. Let's say there's a whole different section for the power play. You can add more players, simply just power play guys. And then there's the penalty kill guys. That's where Komarov would be, if you're catching my drift here. Nope. Loves all of these veterans. So what happens then? Fast forward a couple of years. Actually, fast forward to right now. So there is no top six winger that this team so desperately needs. There is no help for Jean-Gabriel Pageau, who, by the way, was a really good trade acquisition. I will say that. I loved the Jean-Gabriel Pageau signing and the trade. Terrific trade. And it was much needed. And I gave Lou praise for that. I gave him praise for Varlamov when Sorokin was signed. And I gave Lou praise for Sorokin signing. But this one has question marks written all over them. Matt Martin to a 4-year deal worth $1.5 million per. Now, like I said, I have no problem with $1.5 million per. I was under the impression, and I talked to others, I was under the impression that it'd be, maybe for 1 year, 2 at the most. But 4? Okay, so now we have one of the oldest teams in the league. And I'm not talking about existing. I'm talking we have a team that has virtually the oldest players on the roster. I think Dallas is up there with us too. But my God, why? I tend to wonder why. Anybody can invite anybody they want. I don't care. Why? Why 4 years? Why 3? I get it. Matt Martin, Casey Cizikas, Cal Clutterbuck. The best fourth line in hockey. I am in agreement. But it's soon going to be the oldest line in hockey. The contracts given to Cal Clutterbuck by Gar Snow, absolutely atrocious. Snow is to blame for that. He's to blame for a lot of things that have happened. I'm going to keep it clean on this show. He's to blame for a lot. Not helping out Tavares, not getting this team a proper head coach, decides to go with the hard-working, the puck-lucking Jack Capuano, who I'll give praise for just bringing the team to the second round in 23 years. That's the only thing I'll give Capuano praise for. Bringing Doug Waite in as a head coach. My God. Ugh. For interim purposes, fine. You have him as an interim coach for the end of the year, and then you get in a new head coach. Nope, he decides to bring in one of the worst coaches, if not the worst coach that this team has ever seen. He's not on par with Mike Milbury. No. Not even close. But he's up there in terms of being terrible. And I can't believe I defended him for all that long. Good Lord, why? Maybe it was just my naivety. Me being naive. Naivety, whatever it is, nativity. I don't know what the word is. But the point is, I don't know what I was thinking when I was, all behind him and all that, all this, all that. I don't get it. And I especially don't get why Garshno kept around Brent Thompson for all these years. I mean, the last forward he developed was, top 6 forward he developed so far is Brock Nelson. Aside from that, failed epically with Michael Del Cole and practically with everybody else. Garshno next to Mike Milbury. Mike Milbury will always be the joke of this franchise. But Garshno is a very close second. Actually, he could be second. You know what? Screw it. He's second on that list. Good Lord. But just thank God we're rid of him. But now back to this. Oh, and by the way, don't make me go on about the Andrew Ladd contract. That makes me sick just thinking about it. The idea of signing Ladd was fine. The contract that Garshno gave him, oh my God. Awful, atrocious, and we're stuck with that. Now, Lou Lamoriello was brought in to bring credibility to this franchise, organization, franchise, whatever. Organization, to bring a culture change to this what's it called? To this organization, which he did. And he brought in Barry Trotz, which is good. But his free agent signings, good Lord, in the offseason, they're awful. When it comes to our guy, sure, he hits the nail on the head. He got, what was it? He got Anders Lee re-signed, Jordan Eberle, Brock Nelson. He even got Ryan Pollock re-signed. But this offseason, this past one, well, let's rewind to the trade deadline. Prior to the trade deadline, he acquires Andy Green for a pick and some kid named Quenneville, who's no more than probably an AHL career player. But my God. I don't think anybody can defend the Ladd contract. I really don't think anybody can. But something tells me that Andy Green may have been acquired a little too late. But you could go either way with that. You wanted to see how Dobson would do. He turned out to be not ready. But the issue in this is, the reason why I bring up Andy Green, not because of the trade. He played very well in the playoffs. I give him praise for that. But there's no cap space to sign Devon Toews. So they trade him away to the Colorado Avalanche. Mind you, Toews was miserable in the playoffs. Let's just get that right. Toews was miserable in the playoffs. But we traded Toews away to re-sign an old 38-year-old. Again, Lou's specialty. Not big on kids, but loves the veterans. Now, we've re-signed Matt Martin. Not officially yet, but we signed Matt Martin to a 4-year. You know what? I'm going to do math on a calculator because why not? Okay, don't know what that is. Okay. 1.5 times 4. A $6 million deal. Fine. But I don't understand this. Why sign Matt Martin to a 4-year deal? 1 year would have been perfect. 2 years, it's a little much, but you could live with 2 years. 3 or anything over 3 years. 3 years, terrible. 4 years, awful. It shows that Lou is more concerned about retaining the veterans. Maybe he's lost it. I don't even know. And this is where the real kicker is. Matt Barzal is on the roster. Oh, he's on the camp roster. He's on the list. Oh, that means something. No, it doesn't. You want to know why? I will tell you. My math's terrible. I'm not good at math. You don't know what anything is. Oh, well. Oh, quiet. You know you love me. But don't worry about James, Heather. Don't worry about him. It goes between us. But Barzal missed Sunday. But that was all physicals. That's one day at camp. Missed Monday. Nope. Missed today. Still nothing. Now, according to the fourth period with David Pagnotta and some others, the Islanders are stuck in a negotiation with, let's see here, $6 to $9 million, 2 to 3 years. And yet he's still not signed. You know, there are some other RFAs out there that have not signed yet, but Jesper Bratt of the Devils, he's not signed yet because he's having visa issues, but also because he's not signed. But again, not my team, not my problem. But Barzal, he's in New York. He's on Long Island. And yet, for some reason, he's not signed. You had all this time, free agency leading up to now. Whenever free agency was, I honestly don't remember. But the point is, he's not in camp. The point is, he's not here. He's not in camp. You know, you want to get your best guys in camp. You know, your franchise. We already lost one face of the franchise in Tavares, albeit with free agency and the way it was handled and the way he handled it. But he's still not here. Tavares, that is. And now you have Barzal, who's a free agent. And guess what? He's not here. He's not at camp. He's still not signed. I've talked to some people who have said, oh, I don't know. Oh, this team will be fine without Barzal. In Trotz, we trust. I trust Trotz, and I love him. But do I think that this team is going to go far without Barzal? I doubt it. And I trust Trotz, and I love him. Oh, James. Oh, James. You know you love me. Back to the discussion. I don't think this team can even sniff the division title without Barzal, let alone with him. Because you have the Boston Bruins, the Washington Capitals, the Pittsburgh Penguins, the Philadelphia Flyers. All worthy opponents. But the issue is, who will be your first-line center if Barzal's not here? Probably Brock Nelson. And then you have Jean-Gabriel Pageau as most likely your second line. Your third line center would probably be Otto Koivula. And then your fourth line would be Casey Cizikas. Yeah, center depth. Looking absolutely fan-freaking-tastic. Doesn't it? Brian, you're right. This team wouldn't have made the playoffs had COVID stepped in. But that's beside the point. Who knows if Wallstrom's going to be ready? He's a winger. He's not a center. But this team needs Barzal, honestly. Honestly, Pageau needs talent around him. Having Michael Del Cole and Leo Komarov as your wingers is worse than a fourth line. This is where you need your kids. You need scoring. Because what was an issue last year in the playoffs? What was an issue during the season? It was, all right, scoring timely goals. Especially on the power play when guys are playing freaking hot potato patty cake with the damn puck. I'm concerned as well. Which is why I wanted a guy maybe like Duclair. Hell, maybe even Andreas Athanasiou. $1.2 million he signed for with the Kings. If we could sign Matt Martin to a 4-year, $1.5 million deal, we could have used that to sign Andreas Athanasiou. But, oh well. No, the guy's not old enough. I'm very surprised that Lou didn't bring back Derek Brassard. After all, he is an old man. Hell, I'm even surprised he hasn't given Brian Boyle a call. Who knows? Maybe Lou would want to try and get Jaromir Jagr back from overseas. It wouldn't surprise me at that point. I'm surprised he didn't inquire about Joe Thornton. And now Thornton's with the Maple Leafs. Ain't that something, huh? Without Barzal, this power play is worse. Without Barzal, this team doesn't have the same speed. Without Barzal, even with Barzal, we're still basically the oldest team in the league, unless, they cut bait with Komarov or Del Cole, and they bring in someone by the name of maybe Wahlstrom and Bellows. Maybe sit Komarov and Del Cole. Send them away for a bag of pucks. Who knows? A line of Wahlstrom, Pajot, Bellows? Wow. That would be great. I wonder. But if only one of them is ready. Let's just say, for purposes of discussion, Wahlstrom's not going to be up this year unless there's an injury. Sign nothing to see you. And have Bellows. Makes sense, right? But let's spend 4 years on a guy who's going to be 36 by the time his contract ends. The best fourth line in hockey, the oldest fourth line in hockey. Hell, it might even be the oldest, most frail line in hockey. Cal Clutterbuck is getting hurt every which way. Cizikas just came off an eye injury, a detached retina, what I had. Matt Martin, he's nowhere near the man he used to be. If Wahlstrom and Bellows come up this year, and they play with Pajot, woo, Lord, that could be a scary line. You have Beauvillier, Nelson, and Bailey on the first line. I'm sorry, on the second line. Lee, Barzal, hopefully, and Eberle on the first. That's a good question. Do I have confidence in Brent Thompson? Absolutely not. I'm also very surprised that Lou Lamoriello has not given this team a proper head coach for Bridgeport. I'm pretty sure a cardboard cutout of anyone could do a better job coaching than Brett Thompson can. But we're stuck with what we have. Clutterbuck is on the contract for, I believe, another year or two. Stuck with him. And he hasn't been doing great either. But what can we do? We're only fans. And I remember a certain amount of fans saying, oh, Barzal is signed. He'll be at camp. It's already signed. Lou's just waiting to announce it. Well, 3 days into camp, he's still not on the ice. Where is he? If it's not by Arthur Staple, if it's not by Andrew Gross, Christian Arnold, some of the other local writers, or even some of the great Canadian insiders, David Pagnotta, Darren Dreger, even though he's questionable, Elliot Friedman, Frank Severelli. If none of those guys are saying anything about Barzal being signed, don't believe it. Don't rely on these amateur bloggers. Don't rely on these people who would think they're insiders when they're not. Because we were told all throughout free agency, Barzal will be signed before camp, or when camp was coming up. Barzal will definitely be at camp when it starts. Then leading up to camp, oh, Barzal signed. Don't worry about it. Lou is just waiting to release the information. You know what? I have a watch here. 1 second. Un momento, por favor. It is currently 6:37. 6:37 p.m. on Tuesday, January the 5th. And, I wonder, where is Matt Barzal? I mean, it's not like Tom Kuhnackel's there, or at least he's, signed. Corey Schneider is there, and he's not signed. Matt Martin is there. He's signed. Andy Green is even there, and he's signed. They've agreed to verbal agreements. A gentleman's deal, I believe it's called. But where is the face of the franchise? Matt Barzal. It makes you wonder. Could these insiders be wrong? And I'm not talking about the professionals that I just listed off, but all these, these people who, they know a guy who knows a guy, or they know a blogger who knows someone on the inside. Doesn't work like that. Unless your name is Arthur Staple, Christian Arnold, Andrew Gross, or someone who works for a major paper who follows the Islanders when they go on their trips, or at least asks questions to Barry Trotz, David Pagnotta, anybody from the fourth period, Bob McKenzie, Darren Dreger, again, that's questionable. Who else is there? Frank Severelli, or even Elliot Friedman, or Pierre LeBrun. I'm not trusting it. Because guess what? These amateur people were saying that Barzal will be here. That he will be the first deal to be announced for the Islanders before camp. Well, guess what? There's still no Matt Barzal. We're told he's on Long Island in New York. But where is he? Why isn't he at camp? I wonder why. Could it be because he's not signed? I remember some people were telling me over Facebook and all that, and they got very defensive when I asked them questions. I remember them saying, Sorokin has been on Long Island during this COVID lockdown. He's been here during COVID, and he was definitely here. Mind you, this was when the Islanders were in the playoffs in the bubble prior to them signing Sorokin. I asked them, where's the proof? Who is your source? Who said it? And why hasn't it made national hockey news? And they would just give me a tongue lashing and all that with insults and this, that, and the other. But guess what? I was right, as were others that said Sorokin was not here, with the exception in 2016 when he attended a camp. And then Sorokin finally comes to New York after he signs that contract. And then he has to quarantine, which, again, understandable. You have to quarantine and all that because of COVID and all that nonsense. And then he finally goes to the bubble and practices. So where are all these insiders that said that Barzal was signed, that Lou was just holding it in, that he was waiting to announce it? How come guys like the guys from the fourth period, David Pagnotta and some others that work for them, who are very accurate and will admit a mistake if they have one, why haven't Why do they say that there's still negotiations in place or that a deal is not even close? If these amateur writers are saying, nope, he's there, he's signed, he's nothing to worry about. There is something to worry about. And I tend to wonder, how much longer are we supposed to believe these people? The answer, I'll give it to you, you can't. These are just made-up assumptions. And you want to know why we can't trust them? Because they've been wrong in the past. And you want to know why else? Because they're not reliable. And if they're not willing to release their sources, screw it. There's no need to trust them. Unless the names are the ones I listed. Guys who work and travel with the Islanders, as well as guys who are in Canada working and are insiders. It's not worth it. It's not worth the hype. It's not worth the trouble. I don't know who Shuffle Boy is, and I don't need to know his name, but I think I know who you're talking about. Thompson is a good coach. How many division titles has Thompson won with the Bridgeport Sound Tigers? How many times have the Bridgeport Sound Tigers made the playoffs? That's all you need. How many top six forwards has Thompson developed? I'm not talking defensemen because the defensemen seem good for the most part. But what about top six forwards? Still waiting on that, buddy. I'm going to put it all to questions now. I'm done ranting. I'm done. If you have any questions, ask them now. I'll give you 5 minutes. When that clock strikes 6:48, I'm calling it. Now, the issue is with this job I'm working right now, I work nights. So, if anything, shows will be filmed the next day. And on the weekends, I work nights as well. Shows will be filmed after them. And there will be, I'll update everybody prior to the season starting on how I plan to do this. Because it's a little different this year. So, just let them know. Should Lou be fired? Well, I figured that question was going to come up. If Barzal is not signed this year, most likely. I mean, I don't think he's going to be fired, but if Barzal doesn't sign at all, and it's not on that ice game 1 against the Rangers, you better tell Lou to pack it. And then find yourself a new GM. I'm going to be streaming games, but I won't be able to film right away after. I'll be able to stream it on my phone. I got this app which allows me to watch TV on my phone. So I'll be trying to do it there, but it's not going to be the same because, it's live and, streams, they're always some time behind. All that fun nonsense. But, yeah, hopefully I get something and something is able to work where I can negotiate watching game, be home in the evenings, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Any other questions? You got 3 minutes left. Now, I'm not saying Lou will be fired as GM. I think he'll just be moved up to president. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Any at all? This is ridiculous. You could have a fourth liner sign, but not your franchise guy. Oh, boy. Questions, comments, concerns, feelings upon life? Should the owners stop paying Garth Snow? I mean, that was Wang's parting gift, so kind of under contract for that. Personally, they should, but it ain't going to happen. It's going to be okay. Hoping. I'm not on board of this, lose the greatest thing to ever happen to this franchise and oh my God, we should revere him. When he makes a terrible mistake, he's going to know. And this Martin deal, contract-wise, is a terrible mistake. 2 minutes. Can we add offense and youth? That's my question. That is a good question. I think we should. Virtually everybody else out there thinks we should. Maybe if we had a competent head coach in Bridgeport, then maybe I think Trotz would, I don't know, play them. But since we have an incompetent fool in Bridgeport in Brett Thompson, I don't see why Trotz would trust him. Shout out to Isles Misery. Rated R. Indeed they are. 1 minute left. 1 minute left. Last minute for questions. Comments, concerns, outlooks on life, innermost fears. How about that? Wallstrom, Bellows, Dobson, Aho are going to get meaningful minutes this year. I don't know about Aho. Wallstrom and Bellows, maybe. Dobson, well, obviously. I'm not sure it's going to be both Wallstrom and Bellows. I think it's going to be one of them. I don't know about Dobson, about Aho. Well, 6:48. Well, Sorokin, obviously. I mean, he's going to be the backup unless for some reason Lou decides, you're going to Bridgeport and won't play until February. But until that time, I will see you all on the next show. Hopefully, the next time you see me is when Barzell signs. Let's hope. Catch you all on the next show.